First Community Bank is a member FDIC, equal housing lender. Now, here's your host. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Chase Clanton and Hawkins Farms Broadcasting, bringing you the financial update with First Community Bank. Again, my name is Chase, and today I am joined by Mark Holder, the Senior Lending Officer there at First Community Bank. Mark, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chase. Thanks for having me. It's a real honor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have you again. We did this, I think, fairly early last year, and it was a really good program. I enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun. I like to hear myself talk, so it's a great opportunity.
You're in the right business. You even got Benny laughing behind the board. Why don't you just put in your application here at HFB?
That's right.
Number one quality, likes to hear themselves talk. We're just kidding, Kayla. We're just kidding. So anyways, we're going to be talking about various things today, but focusing on consumer loan products. But before we do that, Mark, let's go over maybe a little bit of your background again. I know, but it's been a year.
Sure.
Tell me just a little bit about how you got to Shelbyville and got in the bank at First Community.
Well, I've been here a little over a year. Came in fall of 24, I guess, and great people. It's been a real blessing for me and my family to be connected with First Community Bank. Just a group of people who love their community and love each other and love to help people out through financial services. So I've been in banking for most of my career. Started working in the early '90s. Okay. Worked in Atlanta I grew up in East Tennessee. Worked in Atlanta for a while with a CPA firm whose client base were all community banks around the Atlanta area and parts of Georgia. So I got to know the community banking business, and really that's the only banking I know, and how community banks operate, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a little bit when we start talking about consumer products. But did that for a while, took a brief stint of working with a big restaurant company, and then went to work for a bank in my hometown of Oak Ridge. Was there for 25 or 26 years, and then great group of people, very comparable to First Community Bank. But my oldest son graduated from UT and moved to Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
And so there was a real draw to get to Middle Tennessee for us. And so we're here.
Wow, okay. Now, you said something that I want to ask you a question about. You talked about, it seems like there's a difference between just banking and community banking. What would you say that difference is for you?
I think there's a couple of differences. One, community banks tend to take a much greater genuine interest in their customers. They get to know their customers. You talked about, when I was here last time, your uncle being a longtime First Community Bank with his construction and pipe business or whatever, how that relationship he developed was crucial to his business or whatever. I think community banks have a tendency to get more engaged with their customers and really become business partners and partners with people, with families, and helping them meet their financial needs. I think the other thing, which might sound like an economics lesson, so I apologize for
That's okay. Let's have it.
Bank's business model is pretty simple. We take people's deposits and loan it out for a return. And when you bank with a First Community Bank or a bank like First Community Bank, which First Community Bank is the only Bedford County headquartered bank now in Bedford County or whatever.
Say that again for the listening
First
audience.
Community Bank is the only locally based community bank in Bedford County, headquartered right here. So but the money you deposit with First Community Bank is going to help support families and businesses in Bedford County and in Shelbyville and in Bell Buckle and Wartrace. So we take those deposits, we loan it out to you to build a house for your dad's construction business. I mean, those kind of things. That money's used in your community. So I think that's a huge, important difference. You know, a lot of people want to know the why of why a business exists. And First Community Bank exists to better the lives of people and businesses in Bedford County. And you know, it benefits us. You know, we've been around since the late 80s. A group of investors felt like Shelbyville needed a community bank, so they put up their hard-earned capital to make it happen or whatever. And that's very important to our shareholders, is that we maintain independence here in Shelbyville and Bedford County and keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And after being here for 20-something years, which is my lifetime. Not my time working here or anything, but I didn't know that about First Community Bank. But, you know, I've been going with my parents since I was a little kid. But it sounds like it's a kind of by the people for the people type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not just some giant blood-sucking corporation.
Evil corporation.
Yeah, that's
right.
just taking money and doing loans. It's a lot more than that.
It's a lot
It's
more
locally owned. It's locally grown by the people for the people type of thing, which is really special for a small town community like Bedford County. Very good. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you do as a senior lending officer and about these consumer loan products. What is considered a consumer lending product? What is that?
I think it's all the different loans that people need to do things that are personal, and I'll expand on that a little bit. You know, if you think about as a family, what do you need? What are your big ticket items that you need to support your family and to live? You need a house, you need a car, you need to save for retirement and create that nest egg that pays for your expenses on down the road or whatever. So I think from a broad standpoint, a consumer loan is a product that helps you pay for something that you need to pay for over time. I mean, a loan is pretty simple. It's money you get from a bank that you pay for over time to help you buy something, help you improve something, help you get a better interest rate on something. So it's buying those things that are necessities of life that what a consumer loan product can help you do.
Yeah, and with our background on the fact that First Community Bank is a community bank that's locally owned and operated and stuff like that, I already feel like this is more of a personal process.
Yes, absolutely. You know, we have credit standards. We're going to look at things like how much your debt is compared to what you bring home. We're going to look at how you've paid your past bills. But there's and so some of it's black and white. But then there's going to be that intrinsic, objective view of you're our customer. Maybe you've had a tough time, but you've always tried to do the right thing. Maybe your credit score isn't exactly what we need to do this, but we're going to give you a chance because you've always done what you said you're going to do with First Community Bank.
Because, and again, I sound like a broken record, but because it's a community bank and you know these people, or at least you've had a chance to get to know them and their character.
Yeah.
So you know whether you can kind of take that chance or not.
Yes, we take into consideration the fact, you know, it just makes common sense. I mean, if somebody's been a customer for ours for 10 years and had a medical situation that's caused them to have trouble paying some of their bills and it shows up on their credit report that their score's a little less than normal, we're going to give that person a chance to fix that problem because they've been with us a long time and they're like family, you know. I mean, so we're going to help them out.
Yeah, and that's the personal aspect of it. Again, this is not a giant like mega bank, mega corporation situation. This is a successful business, but you know, you guys are still hands-on.
Yes.
And that makes a big difference. So, yeah, like personal loans, auto loans, mortgage options even. Tell me a little bit about, like, the mortgage options maybe.
Well, there's a lot of things that so much of what we do at First Community Bank revolves around where people live. And that may be buying some land that you're going to build on in the future. You know, Chase mentioned, I hope I'm not giving up too much personal information,
go ahead.
But Chase mentioned he's engaged or whatever.
To Carmel. She's a beautiful, wonderful woman.
Absolutely. I set him up.
Shout out. Okay.
So one of the things that might be important to you and your fiance after you get married is where you're going to live in the future. Maybe you've got an idea of living on some acreage or those kind of things. So at First Community Bank or a bank can help you realize those dreams by saying, hey, we'll give you the money to buy this property that you're going to build on in the future. So we do loans for people to buy land. We do loans for people to build houses. We do loans for people to buy houses. We do loans for people to renovate houses or whatever. So a lot of what we do is tied to where you live, physically your home and where you live. So in addition to having the bank, we've got a subsidiary, First Community Mortgage. You probably know Sterling.
Right, yeah, we had Sterling. Yeah, he came in several months ago and did a program with us.
Great interview. Yeah,
good guy.
But First Community Mortgage is a wholly owned subsidiary of First Community Bank. They do long-term fixed-rate mortgages, get you that 30-year loan in the 6% or 7%. Hopefully that's coming down here in the next little bit. But but they're in 48 states. But but they're also right here in Shelbyville. And one of the top producers they've got company wide is right here in Shelbyville in Sterling Smith.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And again, another locally grown business, although it does outreach to 48 states, right?
Right.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about like auto loans. I mean, we don't have to get into the nitty-gritty unless you want to, but like how do those work at First Community?
Well, no, I think that's a great question. You know, typically, and I'm going to answer the question about auto loans here in a second, but usually the repayment term is going to be, the longer the repayment term, the longer the useful life of the asset it finances is. So a home loan might be paid back over 20 or 30 years. A car loan might be 5 or 7 years, but if you think about it, a house is going to last and be relevant a lot longer than a car. It's going to be more expensive than a car, not much more these days. But
depending on what you're buying.
Exactly. I think I saw the other day in something, the average new car costs $48,000.
I don't doubt it. And I remember like when I had a crush on the 2010 Camaro when it came out, the starting price was $30,000.
Wow. And it's probably $75,000 now.
It could be depending on what you get.
Yeah. So a car loan will be a loan to buy the car. We're going to typically do anywhere from 80 to 85% of the cost of that car, the Blue Book or Kelly, NADA value of that car. And then you're going to pay that back over 4 to 6 years or whatever. A lot of what we do is use people. We will finance a lot of used car purchases, but a lot of what we do is using your car to help do something else. Let's say you've got some medical expenses or some personal expenses that you'd like to take care of. A lot of times what we'll do is, hey, I've got this car. I don't own anything on it. Let me use that as collateral to then borrow that money and pay it back over time. So that's a lot of what we do at First Community Bank with cars. So, but you know, a lot of people are having. I mean, you know, it's hard to buy a car outright now when a used car's average is $28,000.
Yeah, I know.
I think so.
Yeah, so I mean that's where the bank can help you out, or you just. You get that bird egg blue. I'm talking little Dave Ramsey here. I don't know. I may need to go to break, but you might just need to milk that thing and make it last, baby.
Absolutely.
I don't know. And then, save your money for a down payment on that house and get that home loan.
Yes. It's all about priorities. And,
that's a good point.
You talked about Dave Ramsey. A lot of what that shows about is being personally responsible for your own finances.
That's a good point.
And I thought of this example this morning driving in. We're going to guide you a little bit just by virtue of what we do to make responsible financial choices, because if you've been irresponsible with your finances, there's a good chance we're probably going to tell you no when you want to borrow money.
And that's the other side of being a community bank. Like, if you're out here conning people, we know you.
Right.
Yeah, so having a good character would be to your benefit.
Right. And it's been this way for a long time, but there's a report. Your credit report is a concrete indication of whether you pay on time or don't.
That's why it exists.
That's why it exists. So, but no, car loans are a big part of what we do. And like I said, they've gotten more expensive, so people, need to borrow money to buy them.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we're on the financial update here with First Community Bank. I'm talking with Mark Holder, their senior lending officer. Benny, we're going to take a 60-second commercial break, and we'll be right back.
In our community, we believe in supporting one another. And at First Community Bank, we take that seriously. For generations, we've been proud to serve our neighbors with personal service that's as genuine as a handshake. Whether you're opening an account for your new business, saving for your child's education, or just need a safe place for your money, we're here with a commitment to the people of our hometown. First Community Bank, proud to be your hometown bank. Visit us today and see how we can help you. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to the Financial Update with First Community Bank. Now, back to the show. And welcome back to the Financial Update. My name is Chase Clanton, talking here with First Community Bank's Mark Holder, their senior lending officer. And you heard from Nolan You know, I think he's one of those guys. He enjoys being on the radio too.
He's got a great radio voice. I hope he's not listening to this because he might get a little too sure of himself.
That's what I was getting at. But we joke about that.
He does a great job. He's a hardworking young man. He's from right here in Bedford County, and actually on a little well-deserved vacation right now.
Oh, is he really? Very good. Yeah. No, we enjoy Nolan and Kayla and Lucy anytime they come by. It's just like having a party when the three of them are hanging out.
It's like that at work too. They're a party. They've moved to a new wing of the building, and it's impossible to be in a bad mood when you walk in that wing of the building or whatever.
Yeah. So if you're having a bad day, go to First Community Bank and hang out with Kayla in the game.
Yeah. That's what I do.
I don't know if that's approved or not, but let's move on and talk a little bit more about these consumer loan products. Of course, the application process is a thing that has to be done. Maybe not particularly exciting, but definitely essential. How does one go about the process of doing that?
You know, we try to make that as simple as possible, and I like to explain it as we just want to have a conversation with you. I mean, if application process sounds so formal and you got to wear a suit and, you know,
almost like a job interview.
Like a job interview.
Yeah.
It's a conversation. We're going to get a little information from you, but we want to hear what it is you're trying to accomplish. We want to ask some questions about your personal financial situation, what your income is, what kind of payment you can afford, you know, those kind of things. We're not going to ask anything overly, I mean, those are very personal things we're going to talk about, but we're not going to ask you how you feeling today. Are you planning on getting married? There's things that are legally out of bounds for us.
That is true. Very much like a job interview. There's certain questions you can't legally ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I look at it as a conversation. You know, we're going to take some notes and just find out it is what you're trying to accomplish. And so you can do that over the phone. You can email us. You can call us. I always encourage people, if they've got the time, just come on down and whether you set up an appointment or just come on down and talk to one of our folks and tell them what you're trying to accomplish, and we'll try to help you out as best we can.
It's definitely better that way. I mean, whether you're doing business or you're getting a loan or whatever it is, if you can sit down with someone face to face, cross the table, and chat.
Right.
That's where, you know what, if you're going to use First Community Bank and you like it for that personal aspect, do it that way.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get the most personal bang for your buck, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So definitely recommend come and talk to you guys in person. You got several different locations. Elm Street, Madison Street, even one in Lynchburg.
Yes. Yeah, Tamara York, who's our branch manager down in Lynchburg, would love to talk to you about what you need. They're a great staff of people. We've got one out by the airport on 231.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to cover all the bases here.
Yeah. And do you have the phone number for First Community at the top of your head?
Oh, boy, this is a quiz.
Wait, tell you what.
684-5800. Let's see if
I think that's right. We can always fact check that later, like the news.
684-5800.
Okay, good. 684-5800. We got a thumbs up from Benny. Sorry to put you on the spot there.
No, I know.
But people can call. They can send those emails, whatever, and just ask a question. If you're interested in getting a loan and want to begin that application process, what are some things that people can do to make that process go smoothly?
I think just have a real clear idea of what you're trying to accomplish. We're going to tell you what we need, and what we need is pretty simple. If you're employed by somebody and you're borrowing, less than $100,000 to do whatever you're doing, we're either going to need a tax return or a pay stub. We're going to need a little bit of information from you on the application. That's going to be things like name, address, social security number, date of birth, where you work, what you own, what in categories. We call it an application, but how much cash do you have? How much retirement accounts do you have?
Okay.
What do you believe your house is worth? And then how much do you owe on those things? Those are the general questions we're going to be asking.
What about other assets? Like, I own a lot of guitars. Would that be one of the questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just general assets like that?
Yeah, I usually ask people, we go through the basics that most folks have, and then I ask, is there anything else you'd like to claim as an asset or whatever?
Okay.
So, yeah, Yeah, that's where that comes in. Guitars, firearms, livestock.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Classic cars.
Yeah.
Had somebody one time talk about baseball cards,
Especially if they got really famous ones.
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking about your 5-cent ones at Walmart.
Yeah.
If they even sell them for that anymore. But, okay, what happens with the application once it's been submitted?
Usually, a lot of times for the smaller loans, we have same-day service as far as you come in, talk to us, we pull your credit and get you approved right then and there, and then
same-day service.
For a loan that doesn't involve collateral, you're going to walk out the door if approved with the money.
Wow.
So that process usually takes 30, maybe 25, 30 minutes or whatever. But so I think it's excellent that we people walk in, tell us what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
We figure out if we can do it, and then they walk out with their problem solved or whatever.
Wow.
So if it's a real estate transaction, if it involves your house, and I want to talk for a second about home equity lines of credit too.
Yeah, let's do it.
But if it involves your house, there's some preliminary stuff once you're approved that we have to do. We have to get an appraisal on that house. It's somebody whose profession is to certify what the value of the house is. It's not Moses coming off the mountain with the tablets. It's not an absolute exact number, but it is a good professional opinion on what the house is worth.
Right.
And then there's also different law offices that search the county records to make sure the title to the home is what we think it is. And so there's a little bit of groundwork related to a home loan. But yeah, it's if it's a home loan, it's about 30 days. If it's a car loan, it may be a couple of days. If it's just personal money, it's same day.
It could be same day. So what kind of ballpark? Say I came in for a personal loan, not even a car loan, and I was hoping to get it same day.
Mm-hmm.
What is there like a dollar amount, like ballpark limit that could happen in the same day, or is it not about that?
No, it's a little bit about that and not totally about that.
It's a factor.
Which is a classic non-answer to your question or whatever.
Oh, you're not a politician. It's okay.
I think $5,000 to $10,000. That's going to be a pretty easy number for us to be able to do. Immediately.
Right.
So yeah, and so and again, we're going to want to know where you're working. We're going to want to verify your income through a pay stub or a tax return and those kind of things, and then look at your credit. And
sure. And again, if you are the applicant, you can make that process a lot easier by having that information with you.
Yes.
When you get there.
Yeah. One thing that some people do that works pretty well is they'll make a phone call on the front end and say, I was thinking about coming down today, wanted to talk about a loan. What information would I need to do that, to make that process as efficient as possible? And that's always, I don't expect people who do this 3 or 4 times in their life to know exactly what we need. That's our job, to educate them and help them through that process. But just, it's like when you're going to the doctor's office, hey, what am I going to need to bring with me to have this procedure done? What am I going to do? I get to eat this morning? Do I have to fast? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
You rely on those professionals to tell you what the process is like. That's the way I would explain it with us. Is just come on down. We can tell you what you need, or give us a call and we can cover that on the front end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is kind of like a doctor. Let the professional walk you through what to do. Just call and ask.
Except you don't have to sit on the table in your gown.
In a gown, yeah. No gowns involved.
There's no waiting rooms, which mean you have to wait. That's the name of the room. There'll be waiting. So.
That's right. And maybe it'll be a little warmer in the bank.
It'll probably be a little warmer.
Yeah, they're not going to come in and wash their hands before they talk to you. It's not going to be weird. Yeah, okay. So very good. So yeah, what are some reasons why a loan would be denied? I know that's a tough topic, but
it is, and it's I encourage people that work with us, that work at First Community Bank or a bank, that unfortunately saying no is part of our job. A lot of times we do have to turn things down. Most of the time, the number one reason I think we see for why we turn down a loan is credit performance.
Yeah.
You've either not paid on time with us, not paid on time with other people on your credit report, or you maybe have too much credit card debt relative to the limits on those cards. But payment performance is the number one reason. So that's one reason. Second is, and it's tough for people when you're out of work and you don't have a job. That's a tough time to borrow money.
Yeah.
You may need it, but a bank's looking to finance an asset purchase or a temporary cash flow timing difference and those kind of things, not necessarily help you out when you're out of work, because we've got shareholders and standards. We're trying to get our money back.
That's what I was going to say. Y'all are people too, and you're made up of people and not even at this. I'm not even talking about making profit at this point. I'm making a point that it's not a giving service. We expect to get this back, and because this is a service, that's what the interest is for.
Yes. But the other thing we see is somebody owes too much relative to their income. Typically loan payments, so the amount of monthly loan payments you have need to probably range between 35 and 40% of your income. Anything beyond that can be difficult. So, a little less than half of your income going towards house payments and car payments and credit card payments. And, so that's but those are the two reasons that we see most of the time as to why people get turned down for a loan.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So kind of circling back to how we started the program, why would you do this locally? I know there's the personal aspect of it, and we know their character, so we've kind of already answered that. But so why would you do that, and how could a consumer benefit from being a responsible borrower?
Well, why should you do that with the First Community Bank? Or a community bank like First Community Bank? I think it's just to kind of piggyback on what you said. You're going to develop a relationship with somebody who it's going to be slightly more than the numbers. It's going to be an opportunity to say, hey, this person's always done what they said they'd do with us. Maybe they've struggled a little bit, but we're going to work with them. If you do get in trouble, community banks are much more likely to say, hey, we're going to give you a little time to fix this problem.
A little grace period
to try to fix it. So I think those are good reasons why you would want to do that with somebody local.
Sure.
The flexibility and the personal touch that gives really shows up in tangible ways with folks.
Yeah. And how could, say I come to you, and let's assume that I'm a responsible borrower, how could I benefit from that?
There's, this day and age, it's just a reality. So many things are tied to your credit score beyond just your finances. Sure. Obviously, it's going to dictate how much you can borrow and what that borrowing cost is, what that interest rate is. It's also going to dictate or drive a lot of what your payment on your insurance is and those kind of things. It's going to influence your employment. A lot of employers pull credit reports when they hire people because they want to be careful of hiring people in financial distress.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of things that it helps. And, it's going to benefit you to take care of your personal financial business and being able to continue to do what you want. Hopefully when you get to a certain age, you're done with borrowing money. But if you're you're in your 70s and you need to borrow money to buy a car, you want to be able to do that. And that's a big ticket to that, is handling your business in the past.
Right, and always moving forward with it.
Right.
Yeah, I just be responsible. And one of my good friends, his name is Trevor Reese. When I was 21 or 22, he was telling me you got to get a credit card and just pay it like as soon as the statement comes out, even.
Right.
And he said, I know you can handle it. Just put your gas on it or something. I've got a couple and da-da-da-da-da. The point is you build a good credit score.
Yes. And that's great advice. And that's, sometimes when you're really young, you might even have to have your parent on the card. I've got one with my youngest son who's about to graduate from the University of Tennessee here in a couple of months.
Congratulations.
But anyhow, I've got a credit card that he and I are both on just for that purpose, to help facilitate him spending money. Obviously, that we want him to be able to have nice meals and those kind of buy gas, but also to help build his credit report, credit score up for when he gets out on his own.
I'm sure he'll get good instruction from that on you. He's got a good guy to help him out.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, we've got just a couple minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about understanding your credit score while we're on the subject. And, I mean, we know how it can be so important, but, like, help us understand credit score, maybe, like, ranges of, what would be good and bad and things that can affect it.
Hopefully nobody will Google fact check me on this, because I'm just going to come up with some general numbers.
Yeah, we're just going to ballpark it.
A credit score is very complicated. Typically speaking, a really good credit score would be 700 or higher. I think the highest they go is 830, 840, something like that. So that's going to be somebody who pays on time with everything they have and keeps low balances relative to their limits. So if you had a $2,000 credit card limit, you might owe $20, or they can see that you pay it off every month and those kind of things. So those credit scores of 700 and above, you're pretty much, from a credit standpoint, going to be able to do whatever you want at the best rate you possibly could. A moderately good credit, I would say, is anything from 620, 640 through that 700 number. That's going to maybe have limited problems showing up, maybe a little higher credit card balances relative to the limits. And then anything below 600 is usually, there's some problems.
The trouble zone.
There's the trouble zone. Yeah, and so, but there's a lot of good ideas as to trying to fix that. I think of Dave Ramsey.
Sure.
So much of what I haven't listened to him in a while, but so much of his program is dictated around having a budget and staying within that budget, knowing how much you bring in and how much things cost, and working towards that. And I think that paying your bills on time and not having a lot of credit card debt are the two most practical ways to encourage people to build their credit score. I don't want to be like a doctor who says, well, if you don't want to see me, don't get sick. It's like, how do you not get sick? So, I mean, obviously, if you pay your bills and you don't have credit card balances, how do you do that? Well, one of the things I think that works a lot for that is do a budget and try to stick to it. Know where your money's being spent and how much it's coming in, and make adjustments where you need to.
Wow. Yeah, and I think that's good advice. Another idea I had as we're sitting here talking about this is, like, for example, I have one credit card, and I pay it off every month, but it might be better to have a second one and maybe, like, split it up so you keep the balance on both of them relatively low.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and then you have multiple accounts, which can also affect your credit score. The length of the accounts, how long you've had them, in relation as well to how well you're paying, and again, how low the balance is on it. All that does affect credit score. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. So no, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So if you can handle it, do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, if you're young, start young and do it while you can, bite sizes, and go up from there. And if you're not, then maybe what would your advice be to someone that might be a little bit older trying to improve their credit score? It's never too late. It's never too late to try, The same principles apply, have a budget. Maybe you're spending too much money. Maybe you're helping your kids too much. Wow.
Everybody wants to help their kids, but I heard Sting, he used to be lead singer for the Police.
Oh, I know exactly. Yeah. Great bass player.
He's obviously wealthy because of his success as a musician. But he said he didn't help his children out financially because he wanted them to learn the process and what it took to earn their own living and the joy of being able to provide for yourself or whatever. Now, obviously, everybody wants to help family members out.
Of course.
But there's probably a fine line between helping and enabling. And
thank you.
And I think that's, and I'm not here to tell you what that line is, but I think that just consider, have a realistic, and if you're married or have close family or friends, have a conversation with somebody who might know a little bit about it, or somebody who's objective who can see you for who you really are, because sometimes it's hard when we're considering our own faults. It's hard to see them sometimes.
That's a good point. Well, Mark, thank you so much. I think we're about...
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been a great program once again, and I feel like I've learned something. I might be about to go take out another credit card.
Well,
and
come on down.
Keep building that credit, you know? So, Mark, thank you so much again. Again, Mark is the senior lending officer out there at First Community Bank. Folks, this is the financial update with First Community Bank here on WLIJ 98.7 FM and AM 1580. If you like the show, feel free to reach out and let us know. If you have any questions, you can reach the radio station by phone at 931-684-1514 or 931-684-1515. Feel free to send us an email. We got close ties with the folks at First Community Bank. Be happy to forward that on. Reach out to us via our website. Or, again, do you have that phone number? I've already forgotten it. I'm sorry.
931-684-5800.
931-684-5800 for First Community Bank. If you want to set up an appointment, you want to think about starting an account, or you want to set up an appointment to maybe get a personal loan, home loan, auto loan, whatever it is, 931-684-5800. Visit one of their many locations from the Highway 231 North Airport Branch, Madison Street, Elm Street, and even in Moore County.
Yeah, down right in the heart of Lynchburg.
Yeah, I don't think I've left any out.
You got them all?
Wow, look at that.
I know. Chase is an advocate.
Wow, let's do it, man. I'm on it today. Well, Mark, again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. This has been the Financial Update with First Community Bank. We'll see you next time.